Good morning, our viewers. Welcome to day two of Zipper series on panel discussion. This year's 90th Agriculture and Commercial Show. Today's topic, we are looking at strengthening trade facilitation, where we're looking at institutions, standards, ICTs, and transport and logistics. My name is John Mututwa, a senior research fellow at Zipper in the market economy development, basically where we're looking at real sector research issues. And today with me is a panelist from very important institution that will help us get through today's topic. Please, if you want to know more about what we do as Zipper, please do visit our website to understand about the services that we do provide. Or if you'd come to visit the Agriculture and Commercial Show today, you can visit our stand in Jubilee Hall at stand number 23. That said, I think we can begin in. But gentlemen, panelists, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before we begin today's discussion, I just want us to give ourselves a little bit of an introduction briefly. I'll start on my immediate right. Please just introduce yourself. Basically, your name, your designation from the institution that you are coming from, and then within just 2 minutes, just briefly what you do, and then we can move to the next person.
Thanks very much, moderator. So I think mine will be quicker than 2 minutes. I'm Matthew Skalikiti, coming from the Zambia Revenue Authority. I'm an assistant commissioner under customs in charge of business processes and projects. So basically what we do is we deliver reforms within customs, reforms that obviously enhance trade facilitation, reforms that enhance the processes and procedures that impact how traders are interacting with us and how goods are flowing through the corridors that we sit in the middle of Zambia. So basically that is me, and thanks to the listeners, and we hope to have a very good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Morning, moderator. Morning, viewers. My name is Sikufele from Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency. I'm Director Import Quality Monitoring. So Zambia Compulsory Standards is a statutory body under the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, MCTI. It was established through the Statutory Standard Act of previously Act number 3 of 2017, but now it's a chapter 422, and the mandate is to administer, maintain, and enforce compulsory standards so as to ensure the safety and health of the public, and also to ensure that the environment and the consumers are protected. So that is basically our mandate.
Thank you so much, sir, and welcome for joining us. We can go to Smart Zambia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. Good morning, moderator. Good morning, viewers. So my name is Anele Masekopiri. I'm Director Standards and Compliance from Smart Zambia. So basically, Smart Zambia has the mandate to oversee all the digital implementation in government. When you come to Smart Zambia, you discover that there are quite a number of directorates with specific functions they do. So where I'm coming from, like I said, it's standards and compliance. So basically what we do, we make sure that the systems we're implementing in government follow certain standards. And we also check if people are compliant on that standards. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that introduction, and once again, welcome to the show. And just to begin, as I indicated during my introduction, this year, that is 2026 Agriculture and Commercial Show, the theme is about fostering trade and investment. Now, before we get into the meat of our discussion today, just briefly from each one of you, I can start with ZRA. How do you interpret, how do you understand that scene from your point of view?
Basically, from ZRA's point of view, and actually I think from Zambia's point of view, how do you foster trade and investment? I think we look at the efficiencies that we have in allowing trade to come into the country and for trade to leave the country. That is where trade facilitation comes in. So you see that the government has been implementing policies. For example, the Border Management and Trade Facilitation Act attached to that is also the border modernization strategy. What are we trying to achieve as a country? We are trying to achieve efficiencies at the borders. So we just don't end at policy. We have a policy that obviously enables the various border agencies at the borders to function, and that guides how these border agencies should function. And then this is now also where we base our procedures, where we base additional policies. But aside to that, you may have good policies, but you also need the infrastructure. That's where the border modernization strategy comes in. If you look at that document, it tells you the direction that government is taking in terms of improving borders. You have to also realize that as we sit at an intersection of these trade corridors with 8 neighboring countries, it becomes imperative and important for us to notice that previously we're thinking it's a disadvantage, but now we understand that Zambia is a land-linked country. So how do we service the neighbors that we have by allowing trade to flow through our borders smoothly and efficiently? So it starts with policies, enabling policies, then the infrastructure that supports that. So basically, ZRA as an implementing agency and an agency that has been identified by the Border Management and Trade Facilitation Act as a lead agency is, I think, is at the forefront of coming up with now the actualization of these policies, actualization of this infrastructure that government is doing, which means we need to have smart borders. Smart borders require collaboration with, for example, agencies like Smart Zambia. How do we develop systems that will foster us to quickly and efficiently clear trade through the borders? And these systems should also have, I think, where we collaborate with other government agencies that are at the border. The Border Management and Trade Facilitation Act has also reduced the number of border agencies that
Yes,
are at the border.
Yep.
So that is all about bring about efficiency, but efficiency also requires systems. So you start from the policy framework, you have the infrastructure, you have the systems, and then you collaborate as border agencies so that you enable the smooth flow of trade through the country and out of the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Zambia Composite Standard Agency. Once again, we are looking at fostering trade and investment. How do you interpret it?
Thank you, moderator. So fostering trade basically means promoting trade. And as ZICSA, that is Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency, we do that through our education programs. And our education programs are in all the, the local languages, so that we can capture, the wide range of the market players from SMEs or MSMEs all the way to the well-established, market players. And also, we participate in ensuring that there is an enabling environment for trade and investment to flourish. And how do we do that? We do that through compliance, ensuring compliance of compulsory standards. That way, we eliminate TBT, that is the technical barriers to trade, and that is done through ensuring that we've got these standards, compulsory standards that are internationally recognized, so that the playing field is even. So you've got the local market players as well as the international players all complying to the same standard. So that way we've got a playing field that is even. And just to go further, we promote a trade through enabling access to the market. And how do we enable access to the market for the local market players? When we enhance the compliance to compulsory standards, what we are basically doing is we are enabling them to be competitive on the market, because if you are able to meet certain preset standards that are international standards, then it means that the goods that you are producing are goods that can be readily accepted, and then you are you are competitive. So apart from being competitive on the market, we also enable the market players to we also enable access to the market through through ensuring that the players that are in the local market, their standards are uplifted and they are able to access international markets as well. because the standards, like I said, they are applicable both locally and internationally. So if you are able to comply locally, chances are very high that you also, be compliant on the
On the international stage.
stage. Yeah, and the other is the SMEs. We ensure that we don't leave the SMEs out of this. We do have elaborate processes where we, engage the SMEs through various workshops and, help to build SMEs to enable them, to compete in a formal trade, and also, to enhance their capabilities. And through the digital platforms, like has already been mentioned by ZRA, through the digital platform, it makes it easier, for the market players to access our services more efficiently, as well as cheaply, as opposed to what it was in the other days, where they needed to travel to the go to the various offices,
Yes, to the main
to
offices,
the
yes.
main offices physically, and access these services. Now the digital platforms are well advanced, and it's a mature setup, such that it enables it an efficient and cost. The cost is really come down for people to access our services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Yeah.
On that note, where you ended, the need for digitalization and making sure that people are able to access the services that you do provide wherever they are. Let me bring in Smart Zambia. Smart Zambia, fostering trade and investment. How do you interpret it?
Yes, yes. Listening to the two panelists, and as we are listening, government, of course, coming from the government, and listening from the two panelists, I'm processing in my head to say, okay, this is where we want to be as Smart Zambia. These are the exact thing we want from these people.
Yeah.
So part of the things we do is, of course, to engage stakeholders, to listen to what they want, and create an enabling environment for them to actually actualize what they are talking about. We need the situation where we can give SMEs, even just individual traders, marketeers, companies, corporate companies, we need to give them a platform where they can go and do this business in a secure, reliable manner. We need to protect those investments as Smart Zambia. So when it comes to fostering trade, basically what we are doing, we are also creating standards which are supposed to be followed, to say there are these standards we've created for you. Look at these standards. They will help you implement digital systems, e-commerce. It's quite a lot we are doing, actually. I'll give an example of the government service bus. We've provided a platform which allows traders to plug into different systems, and these systems are talking to each other. This has made life for the business out there very, very much. So basically, at Smart Zambia, we are here to give an enabling environment for people to do business in a secure, protecting their investments. So I think most of the things have actually been said by the two panelists, but where we come in as Smart Zambia is just to give that enabling platform which is reliable, secure, and people can earn that trust. Of course, there are other issues we need to talk about. I think one of the issues when it comes to digital solutions is the issue of verifiable credentials, where you don't need to sign up too many times. You just have a one sign off and you're able to access different platforms using just that one sign on. Those are the things we are looking at. Those are the things we are pushing as Smart Zambia, just to help us give our I would say clients for now that enabling environment, which is like I said, secure, and to help them protect their investment.
Okay. No, thank you so much. Coming back to ZRA, in your introduction, you mentioned the need to move from policy, systems, infrastructure in order to promote trade. Specifically, for our viewers and our audience which is listening today, if you can just briefly highlight what are some of the key reforms, okay, that you've been implementing in the recent years, especially in order to reduce processing times and crash times at our border facilities, in order to reduce not only dwell time for the vehicles but facilitate cross-border trade.
Thanks very much for that question. That question, I think, let me start it by providing a context. As a revenue authority, we are required to, and particularly customs, one, facilitate movement of legitimate trade, two, protect the borders and society, and three, contribute to revenue. So we have a triad of things that we need to balance. And to balance these, obviously, that's where digital innovation comes in. So what are the reforms that ZRI is undertaking? I'll start first of all, when you look at our website, we have a chatbot there that has been put. That is obviously to help taxpayers, okay, to get answers to frequently asked questions. But also on the customs front, we realize that we have the big companies. Yeah. And we also have the small, medium, and micro enterprises. We have the farmers. And we have the cross-border traders. So our solutions should also be helping these people, firstly, comply with the laws so that we ensure that we are facilitating legitimate trade, but also make it easy for them to do trade across the borders. So there are a number of reforms. So speaking strictly to, for example, cross-border traders, we have what we call simplified trade regimes. So you realize that there's often a thought that the big companies are given certain privileges.
Anyway.
Yeah, but these privileges are also being extended to the small scale traders, to the farmers. And this is what we're calling simplified trade regimes. So these are regimes that we're entering into with neighboring countries where we have a common list of goods, and these goods are originating and they're given preference. Preference is basically us allowing goods to enter into each other's markets duty free. So other taxes that are local to that country may apply. So, and the context is that, for example, if we are trading under the simplified trade regime with Zimbabwe, a product that is wholly originating from Zambia, for example, manufactured in Zambia, can qualify to enter that market under this regime, even if it is being exported to that country, so long as it is the common list. So what does this do? It enables our small scale traders, our farmers, gain access to other markets. So basically, these are the reforms that we're doing, and these now also require systems that enable that. So that those are the reforms we are moving into. But also, when you look at, if you double back to investment for bigger companies, I think that's where you see that we have segmentation. We have segmented traders. So segmentation of traders is basically under what the WCO they're calling trusted trader schemes. So we've understood which of these traders give us the most revenue, which of these traders are easy for us to follow up in terms of if there are any omissions, and then we segment them and put them in schemes where they are given faster clearance at the border. So minimal interventions at the border. So you will see that the dwell times at the borders because of these interventions are reducing. So on the small scale front, we have these facilitation schemes where we are enabling them access markets across the borders, but also being cognizant that these things are difficult to comply with, and what people don't know, they won't really use. So ZRI has a whole department called Taxpayer Services and Education, which helps us disseminate this information to the public. So we, on the small scale traders, that's what we're doing. When you look at the bigger traders, we have segmented so that we understand the taxpayers, the level of contribution to the economy, and then we facilitate trade. The reason we have segmentation is, for example, if you import, we don't know where you are. It's the first time you're importing. So it becomes difficult for you to treat me the same way. If I've been importing for years, we know where I'm found, which means we can easily audit this company. This company has put up a number of investments within the country. So those are some of the schemes that we're coming up with. So that's the Authorized Economic Operator Program, which is a trade facilitation tool that enables quicker access of goods through our borders. And I think these schemes, as the Zambia Revenue Authority, are being extended to neighboring countries. But also on the home front, we want these traders to be treated the same by, for example, ZICSA.
Exactly.
So that will enable efficiencies at the border, and we will decongest our borders, and then trade will move faster. Obviously, that now will make Zambia as a favorable destination for investment because we are becoming more competitive
And more
because we
efficient.
are making it cheaper for these people to trade and transact as they are crossing the borders.
Okay. No, thank you so much for that submission. And just continuing from that, the need to make the process more efficient as the goods are coming in, but also as our business are exporting overside. If I can move to Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency. Earlier in the introduction, you talked about the need to level the playing field between large firms or big firms and also MSMEs. Okay. My question is, as we are making the system efficient to move goods across the border, what are some of the minimum standards and requirements from your point of view that these businesses, whether they are farmers or they are MSMEs, need to be aware of as they conduct trade, as they conduct import and exports? What do they need to be aware of so that they can comply with the necessary rules and regulation?
Thank you. That's a very important question, moderator. So I'll start with the importers. It's very important that the people that are importing goods into the country know about the Compulsory Standards Act. They need to acquaint themselves with the act and the compulsory standards they are in. So currently, ZICSA, or Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency, regulates 102 products and 116 compulsory standards. So it's important that these compulsory standards are acquainted to by would-be importers so that they are not inconvenienced at the border, or if they are doing the local manufacturing, so that they are not inconvenienced. So Zambia Compulsory Standards operates with the two technical departments. There's a department of import quality monitoring that looks at imported goods, and there is a department of local domestic monitoring. So the local domestic monitoring is the one that is the one that looks at factory inspections to ensure that the products that are locally manufactured comply with the standards. So it's a complete end-to-end process, beginning with a quality assurance system of producing the product, and the various quality controls all the way up to the end product, how it's packaged and how it's put on the shelf, so that they preserve the quality of the product, so that it all protects the consumer's safety and health. So in terms of import quality monitoring, it's important that the would-be importers know the schemes that we are running. At the moment, we've made a number of changes, and we are doing the inspections based on a risk-based approach, because as you may be aware, the imports into Zambia keep rising, keep growing because of the growing economy, obviously.
Exactly.
So the number of consignment that needs to be inspected keeps rising by the day. So we've reached a position where it's challenging to do 100% inspection of the consignments. So we have developed a risk-based approach where we profile the products, we profile the suppliers, and even the countries of origin, so that those that fall into a risk profile, those are the ones that we focus most of the inspections on. And the products that are of a lesser risk, those we expedite them in terms of clearance quicker than the ones that are riskier. So that way we tend to, kill two birds with one stone. We expedite the entry of the imports, and at the same time, the ones that are risky, we spend more time in inspection. We do the inspection, we take a sample, and we do the laboratory analysis. We do the entire conformity cycle for products that are of high risk, so that we protect the safety and health of the consumers and the public. So basically, the schemes that we are running, the first one is a batch scheme. The batch scheme basically is a scheme where every consignment is inspected, because that consignment, we don't have prior history. We are developing a profile, and it's deemed to be risky. So we do 100% inspection. And then once the profiles have been developed, we migrate to pre-import scheme. The pre-import scheme means we only do, 2 inspections in a quarter, and then there's an annual inspection scheme where we even reduce the number of inspections. So we encourage the would-be importers to acquaint themselves with these, especially the 2 schemes, pre-import and the annual schemes, so that their products, their consignments are not subjected to daily inspections, because they will have developed a profile. We will have known the products and the countries of origin, and if those are confirmed to be less risky, then we don't need to subject them to as many inspections as the others would probably have it.
Yeah.
So these are the 3 schemes that that we have developed. The other one is the other development that has happened in the recent years is in terms of the structure. As you may be aware, Zambia Compulsory Standards Agency has got a presence in all the 7 major border entry points.
Yeah.
Nakonde, Chirundu, Chanida. Yeah, so we've sort of decentralized in a way, so that we offer our service in a quicker and expeditious manner. So that's a second item that has happened. You may also wish to know, just to ride on what my colleagues from ZRA have said. Zambia Compulsory Standard is one of the few remaining agencies at the border. So when the Border Management and Trade Facilitation Act came up with a coordinated border management, before that we had 18 agencies at the border. And you can imagine consignments, you're moving from one agency to the other.
Next,
Yeah,
slowing
there
down
was
that process.
a lot of time, there was duplication, and so on and so forth. So that has been rationalized. Now we've got only 6 agencies, and Zambia Compulsory Standards
Is one of them.
Is one of them. So it's really been streamlined, and it's working very well. So the processing time for the consignment has drastically been reduced by the coordinated border management. So those are the a few things that we've been working on as Zambia Compulsory Standards, to ensure that the service delivery is more efficient and effective. Thank you.
Thank you for that submission. Let me move on to Smart Zambia. We're talking about the need for efficient infrastructure, and we went in to talk about the needs for standards from Zambia Compulsory Standard Agency. Moving on to you, we live in the age of digitalization. Okay, information, communication, and technology are becoming more and more important in how economies are run. From your point of view, how important are ICTs in facilitating trade and ensuring that businesses, especially small business, MSMEs, can be able to import and export and conduct businesses, whether internally or externally?
Thank you very much for that question. Like I said earlier, ICT is the enabler. If you want to look where we are going, if we compare with other countries, Of course, some are more advanced than us, some behind. But if you look at our situation as Zambia, I think everyone in here is talking about ICT, ICT. So ICT is the enabler. I believe that trade is based on information. If you look at history, the way we used to do things, you find that for you to do trade, you need certificates, permits, manifests, all these kind of different information. And unfortunately, you would need to get this type of information from different offices. It means queuing up from ZRA, queuing up from PACRA, you know, that kind of arrangement.
Exactly.
But what we are trying to do, or what we are doing at the moment, is we want to collapse this chain. We are providing a situation where all this can be done online. All we need is verifiable credentials from a company, from an individual. Once we have those, we can easily verify to say, okay, this person is who they say they are. This number, of course, is registered, that is valid at Parker. We can do all those things from the comfort of our offices, from the comfort of our home. We can even make payments on those. So if you look at what we are doing right now, we are trying as much as possible to make conducting business as easy as possible. Right now, if you look at again, I'll get back to the government board, to the government service bus. Uh, when people are doing business there, systems are already connected. I'll give an example of like if you're applying for a license on commercial fishing, you need to register maybe a vessel there, a boat. All those are already connected to, is it WAMA, where the registration is
Yes,
done?
water management.
Yes, exactly. You know, so this is a kind of an environment we're putting up as a smart Zambia, just to make life easier for everybody. So yes, ICTs are playing a very, very important role in enabling business. And of course, when you look at the reform side, we're also working with you know, most of the regulations we have the act, and then that act has got regulations. What we are looking into is to look at processes that currently hinder doing business online. What I mean in this particular case is that, for example, if you look at the lands title deed, the requirement is that you need to have a printed output, a hard copy. So as Smart Zambia, we are trying to look at reforms. The goodness with reforms, they come, you can do an overhaul, or it can be small steps, improvements through standards, through what, all those we consider them as reforms. So what we are trying to do right now as Smart Zambia, we are trying to identify items or issues in these different regulations from different players that hinder digitization from A to point B, or should I say to point Z. We want a situation where you're able to do, you start your process digitally, you end with a product digital, and that product should be acceptable. So we're talking about things like electronic signature. Those they have to be like accepted. So for them
Exactly.
to be accepted, of course, we have to sit down with our stakeholders and agree to say, okay, Zambia is adopting electronic signature, all those kind of things. I think if we put all those things in place, we'll provide a platform. It's already there, but of course there are these little things we still have to work on, just to make sure that that process starts from digital. It starts like what can I, how can I put it, like it from when you start a process from A to Z all the way to the end,
It should
it
be able
has
to
to
be
be
done
digital,
completely
yes.
online. Yeah.
And we need to have a situation where I can carry, for example, a digital ID and present it to ZRA, present it to a bank. It will be what you call a verifiable credential. It will be accepted.
Yeah.
So we need systems that will allow us to do that, and these will have to come with some sort of reforms, changing reforms. I think at the end of the day, it's the regulations, the law kind of holds us back, but it's something we're working on. And as government, as Smart Zambia in particular, once we have these things sorted, I think it will be very, very simple for us to do business going forward. Yes, we see ICT as an enabler, like I said. For us, ICT doesn't just provide convenience, it provides an economic enabler to say, okay, yes, now people can do business entirely on the digital
On their
platform.
digital platforms,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the situation we are looking to. And those are the things we are working on every day. And like I said, it takes if you look at Smart Zambia, it's got different directorates, each specialized in those areas. When you talk about e-commerce, the digital solutions, you are talking about things like cybersecurity. We have a department on cybersecurity that strictly looks at cybersecurity, just to make sure that those investments are protected and there's trust from the citizen, from the companies,
Yeah.
to say, okay, yes, we can now do business. We can comfortably do business online. There's e-commerce platforms. All that information is easily shared. These systems are integrated. Once all these systems are integrated, I mean, there's no limit to what we can do.
Exactly.
Yes.
And just a quick follow up on the last one. You have indicated, I think ICTs have made it very easy for people to do business online. The aspect of e-commerce, but the last part where you mentioned the issues of cybersecurity. Okay. Every development, especially with regard to digitalization, has got that, if I can call it the negative side of it. Maybe just briefly, a word of caution as people are doing business online. How do they stay secure? How do they make sure that they're protected? And then we reduce issues of fraud. Briefly.
Okay. People have to be very cautious. I think, when it comes to internally as government, of course, we have programs where we try to sensitize the entire government on these issues, which is very important because we've realized that going forward, there'll be a lot of attacks that will happen because now, I mean, everyone is doing things on the digital platform, so attacks are inevitable. So internally, the cybersecurity team, they have these sensitization workshops. Also, these links like tutorials we have regularly. I think they are updated every weekly because personally I receive like updates just to say, no, you need to watch this video just to be sensitized on the current, when it comes to digital fraud, it changes.
Yes.
Today you might figure out how to handle one attack, tomorrow there's a new one. So we have to keep abreast on those issues. But the good news is that we have a project we are calling Digital Zambia Accelerated Project. I think there's a component there where we are trying now to extend such sensitization to the citizenry as well. Because we do realize that, okay, as Smart Zambia, we are offering these platforms where people can do one or two things when it comes to business, but how do we protect them? So we need those sensitizations. I think under the project, it's catered for. But even just on our website, we have quite a number of standards because we do standards as well where people can just easily go and have a look at them. We try to update them as regular as possible so that people can just abreast themselves on these same attacks. But when you come to our offices, we do have like a fully fledged cyber
Security team,
department,
yeah.
yes, and they've put up measures where we have, of course, monitoring mechanism. We monitor the traffic, how it's coming, where it's coming from, all those kind of things, just to make sure that we are protected and avoiding those attacks. But it should be noted that with attacks, they change every day, they evolve. But we are keeping ourselves up to date on those attacks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for that submission. Let me circle back to ZRI. Um, as you mentioned, one of the I think important aspects of facilitating, especially cross-border trade, is having the requisite infrastructure, and our border posts are one of those. I want to come and discuss the aspect of one-stop border post. It's my understanding that ZRI, of course, in conjunction with our regional neighbors, earlier you mentioned about us being a land-linked. We've moved from being landlocked to land-linked. So meaning we conduct trade with our neighbors to make sure that goods move easily. With regard to one-stop border post, the idea is to streamline the processing of goods and services at the borders, so that dwell time is reduced, but also on both ends. We have implemented that concept almost in most of our border posts. Okay, I want to understand from your end, how is the status quo? How was the operations then before we didn't have one-stop border post? How is it doing now? What more do we need to do going forward?
Thank you very much for that question. So I think Chirundo was one of the first OSBPs in the region, and then Kazungula followed. So what you will see is when you look at various time release studies, you will find that the border dwell times, the clearance times were quite massive previously. But if, for example, if I was to circle back to the schemes that I was talking about, the authorized economic operator schemes, for example, those, because of the border design, because efficient flow of trade through the border is also based on how the border is designed. So an OSPP border post allows goods. So the most, there are three types of OSPPs, but the one we've adopted in Zambia is the juxtaposed one, where we, for exports from Zambia, we operate from the adjoining state. So everything that is supposed to have happened at 2 points
is done across.
Is done across. So which means the moment they leave the Zambian side in the same infrastructure, they go to the next state and they make entry into that state. It's the same thing for imports. So what we've seen is we've seen a reduction in the dwell times at the border. What we've seen is also efficiencies, especially you will see that, for example, Kazungula has a very small track pack. It has 90 slots, if I'm not mistaken, around there. But you will see that the volumes that pass through that border
traffic
are massive.
Massive, quite.
But and we're able to manage this traffic through that border. So obviously it is the border design. One, it brings about an efficient flow of traffic. But secondly, also the reforms that we are doing, which I earlier hinted on. So we have obviously the authorized economic operator program, but we also are going a step further. As we have heard from Smart Zambia, I think information is important in the digital age. So we are trying to get information from adjoining states, which we are calling the customs to customs data exchange. What these schemes would do is, instead of capturing the data here in Zambia, which introduces mistakes, which introduces errors, sometimes omissions. But if we can get this data from the other systems across, it makes our system, first of all, very efficient, because then you don't have to enter the same data twice. So it's such things. The other thing that you look at, when you see the infrastructure is good, the flow, the efficiency is good, but then you have multiple agencies. That's where the coordinated border management comes in. Reduce the number of agencies so that the amount of touch points that are there at the border are reduced. So we've seen a drastic reduction. And interestingly, despite the reduction in border dwell times and the improvement in processing and procedures at the border, we have seen an increase in revenue. I think this, as researchers, they can do independent research and they'll see that there's been a serious jump in terms of revenues being collected despite the reduction in border dwell times, which ideally, as traditional customs people tend to think that control is supposed to be at the border, but we have realized that efficiency actually results in
to strike a balance between efficiency and control.
Yes. So basically, that's how the OSBPs are functioning, and we're seeing these going around. And government, I think, has identified the potential and the value that these borders can deliver. So you see a lot of developments, especially as outlined in the border development strategy by Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And I think they're doing a fantastic job in terms of ensuring that these are coming on board quickly, because we have realized that, especially up north, that there's great potential in terms of what we can trade with those, and that will open up obviously access for the small scale traders. It will open up access for the farmers. Again, to talk about most of our trade in Zambia moves by road. So if most of our trade moves by road, efficient borders
are very key.
So that is where, again, the one-stop border post comes in. And it's not just trade, but it's also services that are passing through those borders. It's also individuals that are passing through those borders. A one-stop border post is very efficient because all processes are being done on one side of the border. The person makes one stop, and the reduction in agencies also helps because the person only has to make so many stops. And then also systems come into place, not just the border infrastructure, the integration of
border
the
management.
system. So coordinated border management, integrated border management comes into play. And that's, I think, where we're striving to get, where everyone, with the help of Smart Zambia, will be on board and everything is done online. The client can pre-clear before they get to the border, and because of the border design, because you see that the or SBPs, we are moving to what we want to call smart borders. So we will have smart gates. So where if you've done your processes before arriving to the border, you will just be facilitated to
And pass
go
through
through the
directly.
border directly. So those are the things that I think we're aspiring to achieve.
Okay. No, thank you so much for that. And it's very important. Moving from where we are to, I like the concept of smart borders because that indeed gets to facilitate and reduce significantly the amount of time that goods and vehicles get to pass through our borders. As we get to conclude, I've been reminded by our timekeepers that I think we have less than 5 minutes. Briefly, sir, Zambia Compulsory Standard Agency, as we end, you are the custodians of standards, okay? As businesses are conducting their operation, they need to adhere to this standard. How do we strike a balance between the need to adhere to these very important standards and regulation, but at the same time facilitating trade? So we want to promote trade on the other hand, but at the same time not to burden them so much with. How do we walk that fine line briefly?
Thank you. That's an important question, moderator. So, the standards that we regulate, you may be aware that we've got more than 6,000 standards, but the ones that are declared out of standard is 160 according to a product. Sorry about that. So I was
No
saying,
problem.
yeah, I was saying we actually regulate 102 products covered by 116 compulsory standards. So like you rightly put it, we need to strike that balance so that we do not we are not seen to inconvenience or to stifle trade. So like I said earlier on, the development of the risk-based approach is one avenue that is helping us to strike that balance, because we are focusing more inspections on products that are of a very high risk. And those products that are not of high risk, we facilitate speedy processing so that they can move out of the border areas. We reduce the processing time, and that way we are able to strike the balance between ensuring that the products that are compliant are quickly moved inland, and those that we deem to be risky, we spend more time on them, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't want to have a situation where the general populace in Zambia is put at risk because the products that are counterfeit or not compliant have been allowed into the country, and they're being consumed or used by the public. So it's our mandate to ensure that public safety is upheld at all times. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And moving on as we close to Smart Zambia, you mentioned about the importance of digitalization, okay? But technology is as good as how best we use it. From your viewpoint, how best can businesses, farmers, MSMEs, how can they maximize the use of technology to make sure that we get the best of it as we try and promote trade and investment?
Thank you very much for that question. It's a very important question. Yes. So for systems, you can have perfect systems if they are not being utilized by the targeted clients. Then they're as good as nothing, unfortunately. So we have to make sure that the systems we develop reach the intended targets. Currently, think looking at where Zambia is when you talk about, let's say, for example, we are providing these services to say, okay, going forward, we want people to be doing business online. But if you look at the maybe smartphone penetration, the rates are really low. If you look at connectivity, it's also something, of course, we're working on, but we haven't touched all the areas we need to touch. So as Smart Zambia, we really need to do our part as well and make sure that we have provided these facilities where these people can have access to these platforms. I think there are quite a number of initiatives currently going on. For example, what we want to have, we want a situation whereby anyone can easily go into a post office and they'll be assisted there. They'll what we are calling digital transformation centers, where they can easily go and conduct business. Of course, at the moment, I think what we are providing right now is mostly government services, but we want everyone to be on board. We want all stakeholders, we want all these partners, the private sector, to come on board, just to help out, to help out the clients, the citizen out there, to have access to these systems. Like I said earlier on, we can have the systems, but if they are not being able to be accessed, then they are not as effective as we want them to be. So ideally, we want to provide a situation where, okay, quite all right, yes, we've put up these systems, and we're saying they will reduce costs on the part of government as well as on the part of the clients, but they need to have that access to them. Uh, there are quite a lot of things I think going on. We even have call centers where people can reach out if they are stuck, just to help them understand how these systems works, and just to give them guidance how to go about accessing these services. Uh, I think there are quite a number of, like I said, initiatives, but maybe
Yes.
for now, I'll just end here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that submission. Gentlemen, I wish we could continue discussion, but unfortunately our time is up. Once again, may I take the time to thank you for coming through and for discussing. I hope our viewers and the audience have managed to get something from our discussion today. As we get too close to our viewers, thank you once again for spending time with us. Please visit the Zipper website to learn more about the services that we do provide. For those that are coming to this year's Agriculture and Commercial Show, please visit us, Jubilee Hall, stand number 3. Thank you so much and have a good day.